I said I've had better in front of his friends. He moved out that night without a word. You know how you say something out of spite and that thing has eventually turned out to be your end? That really is me right now. I said something because I was so angry and I didn't even mind where we were at that moment. I just wanted to say something to hurt him, but now everything is really crumbling and I don't even know what to do at all. Hello, Reddits. My name is Pearl and I'm 25 years old. I'm a model and I've been for almost 10 years now. I've been modeling since I was 15 and I literally grew into it. But that's not even the problem right now. I have a boyfriend, William, and we've been together for about 2 years now, but right now I don't even know where we're at. Like I wrote before, I said something awful out of anger, and now I don't even know where William is at. He won't pick my calls or reply to my texts, even though I've sent about 100 and called even more times than that. His friends are not even helping me out either. They're not telling me where he is, because they're angry with me too, and his family is the same. No one is telling me where William is, and I desperately need to find him. I need to tell him that I really regret what I said and what I have done. I want him to forgive me and perhaps take me back. I don't think I can do life without William, guys. Please, you have to help me. I can't find William anywhere in the house. His bags, his clothes, even his night lamp had disappeared. William moved out of the house that night while I was sleeping and said nothing to me. And until now, I still haven't heard a word from him. Well, he didn't speak to me directly. He went ahead to speak to the whole world, and in that process, destroying not only my life, but also my career, but I really don't care about anything else right now, other than getting William to forgive me or even talk to me instead of staying away in a place I cannot reach him. William and I met 2 years ago in a cafeteria. He worked there as a part-timer, and for some reason, I was really fascinated by him. Maybe it was because of the way he excellently made coffee making into an art that needed to be praised and watched, and it tasted so good. So I literally got addicted to the coffee he made and was always visiting the cafe he worked, even though it's actually a lot farther than where I stayed, but I didn't mind. I got to have great coffee, a good conversation with him, and also a good look at him. I mean, who wouldn't? William is very handsome. He was like a movie star to me with his deep dimples and his very brown eyes. He had this beautiful face, and I had always tried to convince him to try face modeling, but William never agreed to it, saying he wasn't photogenic even though that's a lie. He just doesn't like being turned and twisted or made to stand or walk a certain way just to film a dress or a product. But then I didn't mind. I loved talking to William. He was like a breath of fresh air. He didn't behave like he recognized me even though I am quite popular. Negatively now, but still popular. William told me later that he actually recognized me the first day he saw me, but didn't want me to feel uncomfortable with him stating that fact. I loved how cool he was. He had this easy way of making friends, and I knew that most of the ladies I always met at his workplace were also there for the same reason I was. Eventually, when William wouldn't say anything or ask for my number, I asked for his, and he was surprised that I was interested in having his number. He didn't even know how excited I was that I got his number, and I texted him that night. William answered almost immediately, but told me to give him a few minutes. He was apparently at his other job, which started in the evenings and ended close to midnight. I waited for him to text me back, and when he did, I was happy. We chatted all night and the next morning, too. It was then I learned that William didn't go to college after high school. He had to take off the financial burden off his parents by taking care of his siblings, and he had decided to just leave school. I admired him a lot, and it made me like him even much better. William and I continued speaking throughout a month before I finally had the guts to ask him out. William hesitated, though. He didn't want anything that would ruin my career if I'm seen hanging out with a mere errand boy, in his words, and he also didn't want to do anything that would make people start poking at his family. I begged him to give us a chance, and I told him we could start dating in secret until he was comfortable coming out. But that day never came. I mean, we did start dating, but the day William came out to publicly declare that we were together never came, and it's all my fault. Even though I told William that I wanted to go out with him and hang out in fun places instead of at his place or mine every time, I couldn't bring myself to do it eventually when William was ready, too tired of being hidden. My agent found out about my relationship, and he had flipped. He told me to end things or make sure I was never ever seen in public with William, because it could affect my public image. I love William, but I didn't want to risk ruining my career, which had always been a part of my life, so I kept avoiding keeping my words with William. William, after noticing that was what I was doing, said nothing, even though it was obvious he hated what I was doing. But I was too scared to do anything about it. William started living with me a year ago. He had some problems with his house and got thrown out by his landlord. He couldn't pay his rent on time because he had to settle some emergencies at home. He planned to stay with his friends who all knew me, but only after 6 months into our relationship. But I kept begging for him to stay with him. I felt it was the perfect solution instead of trying to sneak around to his place or any other place where he might be. He could be in my house, and I got him through the night. On days when I didn't have to travel for work, William agreed after lots of persuasion, and he moved in with me, and we were happy. Well, I was, but William was always upset with me. Not all the time, but on days when I said or did something wrong. Something I didn't consider wrong, especially with our situation. One time, it had been because I told my friends when they saw him going into my house that he was just my gardener, not my boyfriend. It wasn't my fault, though. I felt it wasn't at that moment. I had to think fast on my feet that day, and that had been the only thing that came to my head. My friends had suddenly arrived at my place that afternoon, and they claimed they wanted to spend time with me. Luckily and unluckily for me, William finished early from his part-time job, and he wanted to get a change of clothes, which he forgot before he went for the next one, so he came home. My friends and I were sitting on the balcony, and so they saw him coming, and when they asked who he was, I quickly told them that he was my gardener. William had obviously been hurt, but he said nothing and just went into the house and came out seconds later and then left. My friends kept fawning over him even after he had left, wanting him for themselves, but I was quick to tell them some made-up story about him being a married man. They were clearly disappointed, but I wasn't about to let them have William. But William didn't come home that night. It was obvious he was pissed at me. I kept sending him texts and calling him, all of which he ignored before he finally showed up the next night. I apologized and promised him that it wouldn't happen again, and he accepted my apologies. But eventually another situation like that arose. There was this male coworker of mine that I usually work with every time. We looked so good on camera together so much that everyone kept assuming we were together, and so Evan had brought it up. He asked us to be a pretend couple so we could just gain more followers, and I agreed to it. We were supposed to be seen everywhere and captured by a paparazzi, which we actually did pay. And so we did our parts, and then Evan had dropped me home and then kissed me on my pouch so we could be captured. Truthfully, the internet was blowing up, especially with that kiss on the pouch, but a certain person was so mad. Although I tried to convince him that it was nothing, William was so mad he barely said anything to me in 3 days. And those 3 long days were just enough for me to cheat, and I remember trying to defend myself to myself that I was only being down emotionally and needed it. I cheated with none other than Evan. He noticed my mood when we went on a pretend date and had asked me to come back with him to his house so we could drink beer, as we were supposed to be too classy to be seen doing something like that in public. Evan took me to his house and had brought out the beer as promised. When he asked me what was wrong, I found myself telling Evan everything that happened after the pretend kiss. Evan sympathized with me, and he blamed William for being so immature about it all. He was saying all the right words, all the things I needed to hear. I felt like he understood me better than William did, and so when he grabbed my shoulders and kissed me, I didn't object. There was no camera this time to capture anything, but we kissed like our life depended on it. Before I knew anything, I was half naked already on Evan's couch, and he was pulling off his trousers. No one was thinking of protection, something I had always been obsessed about whenever William and I had sex. In fact, there was a condom in every drawer except the kitchen just because I didn't want to get pregnant and ruin my career. But with Evan, I threw caution in the wind, and we just had wild sex. It was so wild that hours must have passed where we laid on the sofa indulging in crazy things that I would never let William try. I left Evan's place feeling like a total betrayer, and the feeling got even worse when I came home to meet William, who had been waiting for me. He apologized for leaving me hanging and told me he did that so he could sort out his feelings. He told me he loved me, and it pains him that we cannot even go out on a proper date as a couple because it would mess things up, and then I got to do so in public with another man. He apologized for not speaking to me and promised never to ignore me no matter how bad the situation was, but William did eventually break his promise. Well, I broke mine first, so I guess it's a win-win situation for us. No, actually, it's a loss for me. I've lost, and I don't know what to do with this feeling that I'm having. After that evening, I spent at Evan's place. He started disturbing me every time. I knew it was the only place I didn't have to sneak around with a guy, so I kept going to meet him. We had sex countless times than I can remember any time I was at his place. He was quite better than William in bed. I'm sure it stemmed from having lots of women, as he had probably had. William had told me I was the third girl he was dating and having sex with. He never had meaningless sex like I was having with Evan. He told him sex meant more to him than just pleasure. It was an act of love. But that meant he was always gentle, trying not to hurt me. He didn't push me against the wall and have his wicked ways with me. He didn't bend me over the couch and have sex with me until I was pleading. He didn't spank me with his belt until I was weeping and then soothe the area with other crazy tools. Not like Evan did. It was so easy for me to keep craving what Evan was doing to me. I didn't want to do soft. I wanted hard and rough, but William was never like that, and so it made me just continue to see Evan. I wasn't in love with Evan or anything. I loved and still love William very much, but the way Evan was able to evoke my wild side just turned me on so greatly, even when I'm thinking about it while having sex with William, and it always left me greatly unsatisfied that I would have to eventually go to Evans's place just to have that satisfaction that I needed. The thing between Evan and I went on for a month before Evan publicly announced our breakup, without even informing me. He apparently was getting married, and his father-in-law owned a company that he wanted him to head only if he stopped modeling and also frolicking around. The internet had been in an uproar again. Some supported Evan and most supported me. I felt really betrayed and challenged Evan about it. I told him about William so he could have easily told me about his apparently serious girlfriend, but Evan's way of apologizing had been to have sex with me again. And after that, we still continued meeting up. In secret this time because we didn't have the freedom to move around as we did before. I couldn't stop what I was doing with Evan. I was addicted to the way he made me feel, and I just couldn't stop. So we kept looking for ways to meet up and have sex. I couldn't even go to his apartment anymore because his fiancée, since publicly announced, had decided to move in with him. And we couldn't exactly go to my place either because of William. So we met in cheap hotels and some other places, so we weren't recognized. We also continued this for another month before everything just went down the drain faster than I could blink. I saw it. I saw a ring on William's side of the wardrobe because we shared one. He hadn't placed it carelessly. I was admiring a shirt in his side of the wardrobe and wondering if I could borrow it and style it to take a picture. But when I touched the shirt, something caught my eye. A box. It was green, and when I opened it, there was a ring inside. I was shocked and so happy. It wasn't the best ring. It didn't look like gold or diamond, but I was sure it was pretty expensive, and one of the reasons William kept having too many part-time jobs in the last month and barely having any time for me. He was saving up to buy me a ring. I was super happy and then also nervous. I didn't know what to do, especially with my agent on my back to end my relationship. I didn't want to end it. I love William, and I concluded in my heart that when William did propose, I will convince him to give me some time to find a way to expose our relationship in public, or perhaps convince to get married in secret. Nobody had to know except us and our families. The latter sounded like the perfect plan in my head, and I kept anticipating the day I could tell William about my perfect plan. But that day never came. It never came because William found out about my affair with a soon-to-be married man, Evan. After all my claims of having nothing to do with him. After everything I had done just to convince William that I really was faithful to him, William found out about Evan, and the result hadn't even been pretty. When William wouldn't propose to me, I started getting frustrated. My birthday had passed, and he still didn't propose. I had even spent my birthday all day with him in the house, so he had the chance to propose to me if he wanted to, but my birthday merely passed, and he had given me a gift. A cheap necklace that I couldn't be seen in public with. But what I expected never happened. I thought maybe he was saving it for his birthday, which was days after mine, but his birthday came and went and still nothing. It annoyed the hell out of me, and I didn't know what to do. I kept trying to hint at marriage, making sure I sounded very interested in marriage and especially marrying him. But still nothing. And then I thought I had figured it out. Our second-year anniversary came up a month after both our birthdays. I thought maybe William was saving the ring for then. So I decided to create a little party for us so that William finally had the opportunity to do the needful. I called his friends and invited them for lunch. I couldn't call mine because I already lied to them that William was my gardener and not my boyfriend. So we only had his friends with us for lunch. I thought if I set the right mood, William would perhaps propose. But it still hadn't happened, and I was so pissed. His friends kept chatting to him, and he was only replying with a few words of his own and blatantly ignoring me. Although if I had been sensitive enough, I would have known he had been avoiding me since his birthday. He barely was around the house anymore. He was always out, and when he did come home, it was either too late and I was asleep, or he was dashing out as soon as he stepped in. He has never even touched me since then either. Like, we haven't had sex in a month, but I didn't exactly see it as a big deal because Evan was doing enough on that already. If I wasn't so caught up in the moment of trying to cover up my affair and trying different acts to get William to propose, maybe I would have noticed. I feel so terrible that I hadn't even noticed that William had withdrawn from me so much. I was being so selfish, and I didn't even stop to think about him. And the same thing had happened in that little party. William kept chatting with his friend with his little words and ignoring me. He had probably stayed at home because I told him his friends were coming over. I didn't tell him before that day that I invited them over until that morning. So when lunch was over and his friends were about to leave and he told them to hold on, that he wanted to just change his clothes and go out with them, I was already fuming and I attacked him immediately, not minding that his friends were there with us. I blurted out about the ring and asked him why he wasn't proposing to me. William had looked at me in shock at first, probably shocked that I was aware of the ring, and then his expression had turned cold. He told me that there was nothing about the ring. Instead of keeping quiet, I continued talking. I told him that he'd better propose because I didn't go out of way to invite his annoying friends over, because I liked them. I knew he would want people around when he did propose, and I brought out the ring which I took out of his wardrobe when I left the table and asked him to propose to me. But William was mad at me for belittling his friends, and he told me that he was never going to propose to me, and if I was so desperate for a proposal, I should ask someone else. I became even more pissed and told him that he was being proud when he was nothing. I told him that he was nothing compared to the guys I've dated in the past, and sexually, I've had better. I told him that I was willing to accept his cheap ring and perhaps exchange it for better ones when he did propose, just to make him more important than he was, but there he was thinking he was someone important. I told him that if not for me, he would be out in the streets, and that I regret ever bringing him into my world when there were better men like Evan and richer too. I didn't mean any of it. I was just so pissed that I didn't get an engagement ring like I had hoped. I didn't mean any of the things I said to him. I should have filtered my words. I should have chosen to speak with wisdom, but instead I had responded foolishly at the heat of the moment, and before I could take back any of the things I said after looking around and seeing William's friends looking so shocked, William went upstairs to the room and locked himself in. His friends left immediately without saying a word to me either. I tried to get him to open the door, but I couldn't. Usually because of how careless I always was. I was always losing my keys, and so I left a spare hanging by each door so I didn't have to get another door fixed when I have to have that one broken. But William knew that, and had taken the keys in with him. I tried begging and promising him I didn't mean any of it. I begged him to forgive me, that I would even apologize to his friends if he wanted me to. But William said nothing. He didn't even answer me when I kept banging the door. I eventually ended up sleeping in the guest room, especially after staying up for hours trying to get William to open the door. I didn't even know when I fell asleep. I was planning on staying awake so I could hear when William came out of the room so I could beg him. But I slept off, and when I woke up that morning, the bedroom door was wide open. I thought that William had decided to hear me out, but I found all of his things gone. There was nothing that remained there to remind me of William. The room felt bare, and I started panicking. I went to all his work, but he wasn't there. I kept texting and calling him, but he wouldn't respond to any of my calls or texts. I tried reaching his mom to ask for his whereabouts, but she didn't know either. After 2 days had passed, I summoned courage to go over to his friend's place, but they had completely embarrassed me, so I left quickly. They weren't willing to part with the information of where he was. I almost reported him missing to the police, or even paid a private investigator to find out where he was, when my whole life just suddenly became even more difficult without William in it. The internet was in an uproar again, and this time it was horrible. There on the internet was my picture with Evan when we were kissing right outside his house before going inside. That day, I was so horny I couldn't wait while he found his key, so I kept kissing him. His fiancée had traveled to visit her parents, so we were free to use his apartment, but apparently, someone had been tailing us. People could have mistaken the pictures to be when we claimed to be fake dating. The problem was that I had come directly from a meetup with fans, and I was still wearing the same dress. I hadn't gone home to change because of how horny I was. People easily pierced the dots and realized that I was still with Evan, even though he announced his upcoming marriage. There was also more incriminating evidence. There was a screen record of my phone containing my chats with Evan. Moments when I asked if we could meet, and then he'd give excuses of his fiancée being around. Some moments when I had sent him my nudes when he asked for it, and he had sent me his too, just to keep me happy till we could meet again. There was another picture of both of us naked and having sex in a motel. I was shocked to see all that incriminating evidence on the internet. The person who had posted it had no special nickname and didn't put his name either, but it didn't take long to figure out that it was William. He was the only person with access to my phone, and not even direct access, but the closest to me that could have easily had me unlock my phone while I slept deeply and took the video. How he got the other pictorial evidence is what baffles me deeply. William must have known about Evan and I. He must have found out before his birthday, or maybe after. He must have known, and that was why he wouldn't propose to me. And there I was like a fool trying to get him to propose after he had seen all of that evidence against me. I feel so horrible, and it doesn't help matters that the only way I can reach him is through his phone, which he never picks up or replies to my texts. I cannot even step out for fear of being attacked for being a whore. I've had the media camping outside my door since the day the information got exposed on the internet, and I see people with eggs and different irritating things probably planning to hit me with them. I feel so terrible staying all alone in this apartment with no one to rescue me. My agent had immediately terminated my contract once he got the news, and he did so on social media and didn't even contact me directly to tell me that. My life is crumbling so badly, and I feel so drained. My parents wouldn't even speak to me at all. They haven't called me since that day. They probably saw the news. My siblings too must have seen it, but none of them called. They're probably too ashamed of me to even want anything to do with me. Everything doesn't hurt as much as me having lost William. The fact that he wouldn't even talk to me after he's had his revenge. The fact that I keep remembering how I spoke to him that day on our anniversary right in front of his friends makes me want to hit myself. I behaved like a total whore and still felt like I had rights to say the things I wanted, and I totally regret everything. I really don't mind the negative popularity. I really don't mind that nobody wants to speak to me again or have anything to do with me anymore. I don't mind that everyone on the internet or in my life hates me right now. I just want William to forgive me. I want him to take me back. I really love him, and my life feels like a total hell without him in it. Please, guys, you have to really help me. What can I do to get William to even speak to me again? How do I get him to realize that I regret everything and just accept me back? I cannot continue to live without him. Please, guys, update. Hello, Reddits. It's been a hellish 1 month, and this is regrettably my last post here. So far, I've had so many names that I never even knew existed in the dictionary to qualify as a human being. I've been called a classified whore, a certified liar and pretender. I've been called all sorts of names. But nothing hurts as much as not having William beside me. It hurts so badly that the one person I care about the most in my life is the same person that now detests me the most in the world. I've pushed the only person that could have been my anchor and helped me get through this season of my life. He would have comforted me and hugged me to bed and pet her light kisses on my forehead, assuring me that everything will be fine. He would have cooked me breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and set up a romantic atmosphere so I can forget my problems. He would have refused to step out of the house, too, not minding that he could get fired just to see me happy. But all that cannot even happen because of what I have done. I've not only lost a relationship that could have become a marriage if I hadn't been so selfish and greedy, but I've also lost my only true and real friend. I've lost the one person I can talk to without fear of social media interpreting it as something else. I've lost my chance to ever get anything right because the one right thing I did have, I've managed to turn it into a disaster, and I regret it so much. It's so painful that I can never get the chance to be teased by William for being so tiny and yet called sexy in the next sentence. I will never get the chance to practice my lines or my pose in front of my only true cheerleader. I've always had to live a fake life in public, pretending I didn't eat this or that, because my agent says they don't give a good image for a model. I'm supposed to be prim and proper for the camera at all times. But I didn't have to do all that with William. I didn't have to pretend like I don't like fatty food just to get roles and ads. It's so horrible being stuck in my home like this, with nothing to do but to think nothing to do, but to think about how much I've managed to mess up the only real thing I could ever have. I've never understood how loneliness worked until now. I initially thought it was not having people around you and not having the camera in your face at every moment. But I only realize now so late that it's about not having that one true person in your life that would go through thin and thick for you. I miss William so much it hurts. It hurts badly thinking about the horrible things I kept doing to him until I finally pushed him away. I made him hate me. I made him hate me so much he had posted those horrible things about me. It's such a terrible feeling. I wish I could get a chance to do things right. Just one that I would have sworn never to mess up, having come firsthand with what it means to lose the one you love out of carelessness. It's sad that I came here as my last hope, thinking and praying desperately that even if not all but someone out there somewhere will understand that I messed up and I'm willing to change. I came here hoping that even if it's just one advice I got so I could get William back, I would be eternally grateful. But sadly, I got nothing but shame and cruel comments. I know I deserve all that is coming to me. I know that I'm a horrible person, and I know I don't deserve to find peace, even though I desperately want to. But you guys just made it even worse. My thoughts are so messed up right now, even the right therapist wouldn't be able to get past anything. I feel so depressed and lonely, and the feeling keeps growing rapidly each day. Evan, the other horrible person in my life, tried to defend himself from the evidence. Went on social media and lied that I forced myself on him, and that those messages were old ones. He wanted to escape the brutality of the consequences of our sins, but nobody believed him. They all do the same thing as they do to me to him, despite his poor attempts to liberate himself. His fiancée had come online to publicly end their engagement and confessed that it wasn't his first time cheating and getting caught, but she had been willing to overlook it because she loved him, but she apparently couldn't overlook this one, because it will definitely have a permanent dent on their lives, and she said she will never want her kids born to such a vile man. Evan is as doomed as I am, losing everything he's ever had, and yet he keeps trying and failing each time to get out of the gutter that everyone has put us in. I regret ever losing myself with him. I regret ever thinking of him as someone worthy to risk everything for. I regret ever knowing him. I regret accepting to be his fake girlfriend and talk less of being his lover, especially when I had William, and also when I discovered he had a fiancée. I should have known it would all end up exploding in my face. I should have been able to see it. I should have been able to tell that nothing good will ever come out of it. I should have just known. Now I'm left to pick up the million pieces that my life has shattered into. I'm left with nothing of William except the necklace he bought me on my birthday, which is now my most prized possession. I'm left broken with no one to blame but myself. I regret ever thinking I could get away with everything I did. Now it's just me and my emotions left alone in the world. I'm totally and horribly alone, completely. Goodbye, guys.